my best friends. Some people say we have a problem, but every night I make a new best friend, and the only problem is we like having a good time.
Hello, hello, hello. It is Thursday night. It is 8 p.m. And for the 75th time, it is another episode. That's a lot of times. More times than I think both of us, if we're being honest, thought would happen.
We were going to get fired after episode
thought
one.
would happen,
that was
yes.
the goal, and
yes.
It didn't happen. We're
but
here.
This is the 75th episode of Between Two Beards. I am JPJ. The man to my left or right, depending on however it looks, is Pluggo. Pluggo, how we doing? We got a big one tonight. We only got the hour.
We only got the hour.
We got the hour because of Quizplex, the Return of the Dead, Back from the Dead edition of Quizplex coming up at 9 p.m. But we got a big one tonight.
PCO of all people.
PCO is going to be on there.
But you know,
Sal Rinaldo, who was on Monday Night Raw this past week, is going to be on there.
Yes, hopefully he fares much better in Quizplex than he did.
Yes, he did not. He did not fare well on Monday night, but that was cool to see him. More episodes than WWF Live Wire. You know it, baby. Good to see you, Kool-Aid Man. All right,
a couple things, and
let's go. Do it, Pluggo.
So tomorrow is LPW9, Mark Among Us.
Yes.
And normally our Thursday night spot is reserved for Spencer, but with Quizplex taking the precedence, we kind of were short on time tonight. But you don't think for 1 second we didn't fill his spot with somebody that was willing to spend his money.
Oh, yeah.
So we brought in our good buddy, Mr. Warren Hayes, to talk about the history of professional wrestling rings and the sparklers, history of sparklers. Which, by the way, did you see those amazing graphics in our open with the sparklers and the fireworks? Yeah.
Yeah, it's almost like we invented them.
Yeah,
it looks like an AEW deathmatch finale. It's fantastic, boys.
That's right. That's right.
Time.
But not only do we love having you on, Warren, all the time, anytime, for any reason, but there's a particular special reason tonight why you've joined us, and that is the PWI Top 150 Women's Rankings dropped today, and you, my friend, are a part of that committee, so that's pretty cool. How are your mentions today?
Very nice, actually. It was, honestly, Kevin McElvaney, who's the editor in chief of PWI, has very bad days when it comes. Well, but we take most of it in stride. I think I reached out in defense to one person who was sticking up for us, and I was like, look, I got to step in here. Other than that, I think everyone has, not everyone, this is a lie, but I think mostly it's been perceived as very positive. Mm-hmm. People who I thought were going to be very harsh at it were very receptive of it. I think because of the precedent that we're setting, because of who's populating the top 10. I think it makes a lot of sense personally. I mean, it's a list that I'm very, very proud of, and I have no trouble sticking up for, because I think it's a just representation of we always say the past year, but the evaluation period is from July to July, essentially. So let's say that over a 12-month period, I think it's a very just representation of women, the women's side of the sport of kings. In this case, the sport of queens.
Yeah, and it's really good. We have we're gonna take some time.
Before we dive too deep into it, shout out to Kool-Aid Man in the chat, Lawrence in the house. How you guys doing? Welcome,
absolutely.
Welcome. Our lawyer Lawrence here to make sure we don't say anything that gets us subpoenaed or purged or whatever those fancy words are.
You don't want no investigation suddenly happening, coming out of nowhere.
Yeah.
I want to discuss, because I know you obviously you're part of the committee, you're part of the choices. So obviously there's people from all different areas of so are there committee meetings? Do you meet virtually and discuss things, or is it one of those things where you pick, you do your list and then you kind of give your reasons? How does the committee get together? How often do you get together? How is the process of really coming up with this list and getting it out there?
JPJ, that's an excellent question.
Well, you didn't think we could get serious on
Oh,
did
you know, it's journalistic. I don't know.
I know. The committee is put together. How many people were we? 5, 6 people, maybe 7, including Kevin. And the idea is to bring expertise from just a little bit everywhere, right? So, you'll have people like myself who maybe on the committee watch a little more independent wrestling than others. Kristen watches a lot of stuff in the UK, for instance. So despite the fact that she follows AEW and WWE and so on and so forth, well, she has that niche set up. You'll have Karen, right? Who we brought in this year. She's a Japanese wrestling fan, so she was our go-to Joshi expert. You have Candice, who is absolutely a WWE fanatic. So we all have we all bring to the table something. We all have common ground, but then we also bring a little extra something to it. And like we meet once. Where virtually, of course, we don't fly out to the offices of PWI in Philadelphia. We don't quite have that budget yet, but we do meet virtually. It's a long ass meeting that we do, but we come prepared. So everyone comes with their list. Everyone comes with with their arguments and their their research. If you come into the meeting unprepared, you're just going to twiddle your thumbs because everyone is sort of comparing notes and pulling up stats and so on and so forth. So there's a lot of prep work to get into it. Then we get to the meeting and we spend a solid 5 hours, I think, this year that we just that we spent putting the list together. And then afterwards, then there's a couple of weeks before it actually gets sent to print, where we, then we look over the list. If there are any things that happen in the meantime after, significant events that were like, so-and-so just won a belt, we should bump her up a few, well, those things are taken into consideration right until the deadline where Kevin has to send the magazine off to print. Essentially, that's the long and short of it, really.
Cool. So when you say prepared, are you coming with like 200 women's wrestlers listed, or do you just kind of have like a ballpark idea? Do you
have your bunch that you're like really like, I want to make sure they are represented well, so I'm going to fight for this dozen or this 20 or something like that?
It's a mix of both. No, of course not. You don't come in with 200 people.
Why not? Be over prepared like I am all the time.
No, come on now. Let's be reasonable. No, you prepare. Prepare for maybe your top 20. Usually, that's where there's most of the discussion. Regardless, within the committee, it's usually the top 20 that everyone sort of argues a little more. And I'm using argue not in the sense that we fist fight, or anything that we spit in each other's faces. It's more like arguments, chat. I think that's usually where you go. So we sort of prepare the top 20, and of course, I underscore a couple of entrance where I'm like, okay, these are people I'm going to go to bat for. I'm going to fight. Might be in the top 5, might be in the top 10, might be just on the list, period. There's at least one person this year that I went to bat for to make sure that she had her spot on the list.
Who?
Riley Shepard.
Okay. Very good.
Right.
Very good.
Ciao.
All right.
Don't keep it a secret. Let the people in the room.
But and I mean, it wasn't even that hard a fight. Like, I'm a little disappointed. I don't know. I don't know if Riley's going to listen to this. Riley's fantastic, by the way, and she's.
What has been like the hardest fight maybe you've had since you've joined the committee, since you've been on it for?
That was last year. Jesus Christ, this year was something. This year wasn't so bad, I have to say. We fought, not fought. The longest time that we spent this year going was for the top spot.
Okay.
Last year there was no question. It was like Bianca. Like everyone agreed. Everyone was like high-fiving each other. All right, we're almost done, kind of thing. It's like this year, I swear we must have spent 60 to 90 minutes debating between Shuri and Bianca. It wasn't a super quick decision. It wasn't something that was extremely obvious because there are arguments for both at the top. There really, really are. the committee then bent more towards for Shuri for multiple reasons. Just like we could have went with Bianca for multiple reasons.
Oh, yeah.
For a back-to-back number one spot. Yeah.
What's that?
Bianca would have went back-to-back.
Yeah, Bianca would have been back-to-back. We just look. I think the consensus of the committee. I can't even speak for the whole of the committee. I'll speak for myself because I was pro Shuri this year. And because I felt Bianca, while she had a stellar year again, because she is a bona fide star.
Incredible.
I think she had a little, just a wee bit less of a splendid year she had in 2021. But I mean, we're splitting hairs at this point. You know, I'm not like saying, oh, she had a shit year. No, I just feel 2021 for her was such not only a breakout year, but a star-making year with huge performances, huge matches. And just being so incredibly consistent. This year during the evaluation period, specifically last fall, like late summer to fall, Bianca was on a bit of a losing streak.
Yeah, she had a lull there after SummerSlam.
She had a lull, after losing to Becky. And that's one of the things where when we start to break down and really get into the nitty gritty, then we start, really looking into the micro details. That's like one of the things that hung in her disfavor, right? Where Shuri, at least in my eyes, I think the main thing that brought Shuri forward, on top of her incredible work ethic and her nonstop wrestling matches, whether it be singles or tag team or whatever, like just the fact that this woman never stops. She could be attributed to being one of the reasons, the main reason to this huge expansion that Stardom is experiencing right now. One of the criteria that we evaluate is the significance of the wrestler for its home promotion, right? Well, I mean, Stardom is having huge growth in North America, huge growth at home. They're selling out all the time. They're selling out. They're selling out venues all the time. And who is the champ? Who's the head? This is what you do. You look, then you turn and you look at who is the champion of your right now, and then you can say, well, that person's a draw. In my opinion, I can't speak for the rest of but this is part of the reason I can speak for the entirety of the committee. But Shuri's a draw. Shuri is, her presence helps spur a new a second, maybe a third, a fourth, depending on what, but definitely a new breath, a new wind in the sails for Stardom. Let's put it that way. Ushering on their North American expansion, getting people interested in Joshi, which started last year with her super match against Utami, which has just then snowballed since. It has been nothing but good news for Stardom because she has been at the top and she's continued to deliver. I think that sort of edges out a little bit if you start really looking into the business aspect of it. But like Bianca had another huge WrestleMania win.
It's funny, like with these lists, how people like will crap on the decision to put Siri first or Shuri. Hopefully, I'm saying it correctly. I'm not super familiar with her.
It's like
work.
Shuri,
but like
Shuri.
But they'll be like, oh, Bianca, like your shit. Like Bianca's still at 2 out of all the women's wrestlers in the world. Is no slight. It's no.
Yeah.
I mean, if you read the analysis, which of course you have to pay for the magazine to do so a lot of people don't.
Right.
But if you read the analysis, we try to make sense out of, we bring out the highlights and what has happened, and we try to guide the reader into understanding what brought the committee to this decision. It's just, but of course, most people will just see the ranking and then they'll flip out. But we have written the reasons for all 150 people on the list as to why they're in that position. We wrote every woman on the list has at bare minimum a blurb,
Yes,
and have an article.
Shout out to HCW Sports saying some of Bianca's shine wasn't seen because of the Vince shakeup. Basically saying that now Vince is gone, she'll be an overnight star every night of the week. She's a star. Yeah, the Vince stuff was kind of weird that they did her dirty with Becky. So yeah, I could see that, but she's on top of the world. I had her at 1 only because again, and I think I don't want to speak for JPJ, but we're not super familiar with the Stardom.
And I'll be honest with you, like I know the names. When I see the names, I go, okay, I know that's a top person over there. But I don't want, like, I have not seen one match of.
Sure. Now I'm gonna have to, because
now I will go out of my way now, because now I'm like, okay, well,
but that's what I love about this.
She's
list
number one. Like I'm gonna go check it out. But like, and I know you talked about the business aspect, but for someone like me, who I think people like us, Pluggo, who might not know, I think they're the ones that react a certain way the most. I know plenty of people that'll be like, well, WWE is the main company, so I watch WWE. So you see Bianca Belair number 2, and you're like, okay. And then you see a name at number 1 that you don't know who that person is, and you're, oh my, ridiculous. How are they better than Bianca Belair? Come on,
exactly. Like you have 2 choices on how to react at this point. 3, you could, let's say, the first one could be complete indifference.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Right. The next one is like you just said, Joe. It's like, well, yeah, fuck this shit, kind of thing.
You could say that's fine.
Yeah.
Or you could do what you brilliant gentlemen are going to do, is like, I gotta check this lady
check it out. There's nothing bad about finding more wrestling, guys.
In your guys' defense too, and I've noticed a trend, because this is magazines that I follow. I do brackets like all the time and rankings, all this kind of stuff. I love this stuff. Over the last few years, you've seen more of an independent or Japanese influence in this top 10. It used to be, I think it was 2, maybe 3 years ago. The top 5 was WWE wrestlers, and I think one of them was injured for half the year and still made the, or maybe I'm mistaken on the injury part, but it was like, but it was all top 5. So you're seeing more, like, you're looking at this list, you're seeing more of a, the Starlight Kid in there and things like that. And I'm looking, I got it pulled up right here. Just an overall sense, like Tasha Steelz is number 11, and that speaks volumes to just how good other Jordan Grace at 6.
Jordan Grace is 6.
You could argue Jordan Grace higher if you really wanted. That's just, like I said, this used to be a very WWE dominated list. Was that kind of
like Masha Slamovich at 14? Like that's like
awesome.
Yeah. Oh yeah. But like,
if if you'd left it up to me, Masha would be top 5. But me too.
But that's what I'm saying. Is that a conscious decision with the committee to go, let's really deep dive? Because it used to be top 50, then it moved to 100, now it's 150. Mm-hmm. Is that saying, hey, there's so much good out here, let's put these names on the list and grab those attention and go, hey, these people deserve this shine. Go find them, go watch their matches, get to know them.
You pretty much nailed it when you said, when you said you pretty much nailed it when saying, the list has been growing because there are more women wrestling. Now you'll notice, because I got into a bit of an argument with someone today, I'm not saying there's more women's wrestling. I'm saying there's more women wrestling, which also means that there's more opportunities for women to wrestle. There's more women's wrestling, but physically, like there's more women training, more women hitting the indies, more more women getting hired. Some divisions are getting bigger. So of course the list naturally does grow. Now, as to get to, the question of whether or not, it's a conscious decision to mix everything. No, but I don't think it's a conscious decision. But I think that acquiring the diversity of people that we do get around the table ensures that we're not centric on one company, one region. That's ultimately the deal, right? Is that when we sit down, none of us are necessarily saying, well, we have to pick and choose over here. No. We're going to go with, we're going to make arguments for women, because that ultimately is what supersedes their promotions. It's the talent. It's the women that are being put into these positions. So no, I can't say that that's something that we have on our mind. I think it just happens naturally.
So basically the top 5 women were WWE. You guys would just put them top 5 and go from there if that merited it.
Well, I mean, last year when I did the list, right? Wasn't it last year?
Last year, Bianca was one, and
there was like 4 WWE women in the top 5.
Yeah, it's 4 out of 5.
What was her name? You Tommy, I think was the only one.
Yeah, she
was number 2.
And then you had like Becky, Charlotte, and Asuka, I think, something to that extent.
Yeah.
I
or something like
don't
that.
remember.
HCW Sports, I don't think Randy West made the list.
No.
But not because she's not talented. I can tell you that. That just means this list is full of talented people. I know with this list, like we were just talking about diversifying, like learning these people. Like this is where I found Thunder Rosa back when she was 97th on the rankings, or Masha. I found Masha in this and said, "Who is this person? Let me go to Google and type her name in and find these matches." And I think that is an awesome thing. So the people that are just crapping on it for name's sake, go out, watch some new wrestling. You may love it, you may hate it, but go watch it. Give it a shot. Don't judge based on a list.
I mean, ultimately, that is what it's for as a fan, right? I mean, and you know, we're going to get into the period of year-end lists for every type of media, right? For albums and movies and all of that. So, you know, and it's weird because, you know, we always talk about tribalism in wrestling, but it exists in every form of media moving forward, right? So the number of people who are going to scream at the top of their lungs that, you know, Thor, Love and Thunder is not going to be at the top, number one at some, you know, of someone's list is going to be ridiculous. Like, well, instead of digging your heels, you know, why don't you just go out and see the film that this guy said this? Well, I think this is a bit better than Thor, Love and Thunder. Or, you know, and it's not necessarily you might just open yourself up to something like today. Like there's someone who tweeted, someone that again, and I didn't expect would be comfortable with the list, tweeted to their followers, and they have a certain a quite large amount of followers, and saying, you know, most of you should get into Joshi and discover these women. Just go watch Shiri, and you'll discover a whole bunch of women and a style that you're going to love. And adding like these women, they wrestle like they're on clouds. And I'm like, this is fantastic.
Yeah.
It's you discover something else, another style, just something different, broadening your horizons. There's, you know, I think that's how all these lists should be approached. Essentially, you know, our job as a committee is to give a snapshot, right, of what happened during the past year, what we feel the landscape looks like. Then after that, you can go pick and choose after that. You don't like Lucha Libre, that's fine. You can skip over the Lucha Libre entries and focus on anything else, you know?
Fine. And that's what I've always used these lists for. And, you know, that's the best part for me. So, and it's one of the things where, like, I openly admit that I don't watch a ton of wrestling from Japan, even New Japan. Like, I watch the big events, but I'm not regularly keeping up with it. You know, Stardom, I've seen a few matches in my life, but like nothing, you know what I mean? Even some independents I don't keep up with as much as I probably should. You know what I mean? So these lists and those blurbs that they say, like, you know, if I see someone on there and I like the blurb, I like what was said about them, the stats or whatever, like I'm going to try to go out of my way and find out who this person is. And that's about that. I've done that with all sorts of, whether it was music or regular, like whether it was music or sports, you have these magazines in these lists of up and comers or new bands to be on the lookout for or whatever. Like, the only reason you're reading those lists is to probably check out to see if you're going to find some more music to listen to and some new bands. It's the same thing.
If you want an exclusive, just WWE top women's list, just go onto the network. It's already there.
Yeah, literally.
Out their own. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
exactly. Or, you know, better yet, make your own.
Yeah. The
Sure.
people that usually dump on these lists don't ever make their own, I've noticed. I gotta ask, and I think I've asked you this before in years past.
Go ahead.
But I don't remember. Explain to me how Trish Adora could be 45 on the 100 and in the 50s in the women's. How does that translate from list to list? How do you go? Because, like, in years past, she's been pretty high. Like, I think her peak was in the 40s, and then she did, you know, struggles to make a dent in the women's list. Is there some kind of reasoning behind that, or is it more? Are you basing that other list on her intergender work?
Yes.
Okay.
And
It's always an interesting case for me when I lead these lists.
I don't do the 500, so I'm not quite up to par on the talking points on the defendant. No, I'm kidding, but still, it's like I can't, I can't say for certain. But the women who do end up on the lists, on the 500 list, is because and it's not just a question that they've competed against men. It's if they've competed to genderless titles, right? So what a gendered title is, a women's title, right? So that's not considered for the 500. But Trisha Dora is a world champion. She's the Pan-African World Diaspora Champion, which is a recognized, at least by PWI, it's a recognized world championship. So she's defended it. So she's a world champion, and it's not a women's title. It is a world championship. That's why you'll have Jordan Grace and Masha were going to be on there as well, because they've challenged for these titles. So the work that then they put in with men in intergender matches counts there. So it's two different committees, right? It's other people as well who look this through. So it could be that Trish Adora in the evaluation period for the 500 had a very impressive run with her title defenses going up against guys. It's like and just significant enough to score higher than she would on the women's list, because maybe she was working so hard against the dudes. Her.
Yeah, okay. Another one of those is like Billy Starks is also that kind of. She has that same kind of crossover too. I always find that interesting. But yeah, I guess that makes sense. I didn't realize it was two different committees. I thought maybe you guys just did both.
No. Kristen is on both. Kristen Ashley, first lady of the show. She is on both. Me, they keep me around for special occasions.
It's because that fee is so high.
Yeah. Tell Spencer about it.
He knows.
Oh yeah, I know. Yeah. Before we dive in, because we have some on this list, we do have a good handful of performers that are LPW performers. So I want to give them a shout. We got
ears were burning.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, you do know Warren's price. It is not a cheap one. It is not a cheap one. But I did want to talk, give them a shout out on this list. But I wanted to ask you, as someone who openly just admitted, like, I don't watch a ton of North American wrestling is really, and it's WWE and AEW that's my main consumerism of professional wrestling. That's the main thing I watch. So if you could pick 2 or 3 ladies from this list, obviously we've talked about Shuri. She was number 1. I'm going to be checking her out. Obviously, she's number 1.
Yeah, when you see somebody beat Bianca Belair on the list, you're like, you got to
check them out. You got to, because Bianca is just special, right? So if there's 2 or 3 people on this list that maybe under the radar that not everybody knows, like I know you said that you fought for Riley Shepard, right? I do not know Riley Shepard, but like, do you have 2 or 3 women on this list that you're like, hey guys, you got to go out of your way to check them out? They're either going to be a super duper big star, or they're like, do you have 2 or 3 that maybe you could share for the people like me that maybe don't watch a ton of outside of independent wrestling or whatnot?
Sure. And it's a nice segue into the fact that I actually wrote a scouting report for the US Indies in regards to women's wrestling, which is a feature of the magazine as well. I wrote on US Indies, and we have for all different regions. Canada was handled by Pat Laprade. I did the US Indies. Kristen did a few, including the UK. We have Ella J, who did, I want to say, NWA. I think she did NWA. I'm hesitating between that and Impact. But, we have a few of those. We have someone from Mexico. We had Karen do Japan.
Speaking of, shout out to Ella J, friend of the show. Happy birthday yesterday.
Yeah. Yes, she had a birthday yesterday. So happy belated.
Yes.
There you go. Well, let's talk about Riley, because I did, she was one of those that I wanted to stick up for. She's an independent wrestler working out of the northeast of the United States. So, the New England area is where she's stationed. She's still fairly young in her career, but, she's extremely solid. She's a powerhouse. Something that makes her stand apart, I find, in a lot of women's wrestling today. So I think she's great. And on top of that, she is a wonderful human being. You know, and we often talk about, how certain people might be a little, not up to par as far as, being good people are. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Might as well push for the good people once in a while as well. And I think that's an incredible good quality that Riley has. And she's had a great year. She started up moving to Beyond. If you're not familiar with
Beyond is excellent.
Beyond is one of the super indies in the United States, and they have their own side promotion called Women's Wrestling Revolution Plus, WWR Plus.
I did not know that. Oh, wow. Okay.
And she was on WWR Plus quite a bit, and then she graduated to the main Beyond shows as well. Beyond is a great place to dive into women's wrestling on the indies. So yeah, absolutely. Riley Shepard, check her out. I've been a big fan from the first moment that I saw her kick someone in the face. Janai Kai, she is the real deal. She is. I know she's getting a little more. She's getting more and more press, or at least more appearances moving forward. I think she's. I think she's she's a legit fighter, and you can tell by the way she delivers her kicks, the way she her hips lean in to just make sure that they hurt as much as. And Janai hasn't hit her ceiling yet. She's the type of wrestler that can just that as she keeps improving and growing in the business, she's going to end up just breaking everyone in half. She's fantastic. And Alex Windsor would be another one I talk about. She's based out of the UK. She's currently the Progress Women's Champion. Alex has been wrestling for a few years. She wrestled as well quite a bit in Pro Wrestling Eve. She is one of the best women's wrestlers on the planet right now, and you have not you've never heard of her. I think she's at 25. If I'm
24, it says for me. 24.
Clearly, I don't have it right in front of me, but I knew it was around. I knew she had we had put her quite high because of her championship, so on and so forth. But Alex is she's in a world apart. Whenever I get a chance to talk to promoters over in the UK, I keep telling them, tell Alex to get herself an excursion to the US, and people are going to fall in love with this woman. She's amazing. She is a pure wrestling talent.
Awesome.
She's really great.
Cool. All right, I'm definitely going to check them out. So thank you.
Now,
thank you for that.
Let's get serious for a minute.
LPW.
Well, we'll talk LPW, but I'd like to ask, how hard did you push to get Aaliyah into that top 10 spot that she so rightfully deserves?
In the
top 10 as one of the best wrestlers in the world, Aaliyah. This 317 herself. I don't see her name anywhere.
I didn't know what to
tell you. Former champion right there.
Yeah,
former champion.
Guinness World Record holder.
Well, I mean, it's good that she has an accomplishment in her career. I mean, good for her. I feel kind of bad crapping on anyone, when on release day of the list, because it's always supposed to be celebratory, but
I know that's just our
inside
it's a
Pluggo to
believe that.
No, I'm just kidding.
We can talk about Goldberg.
No,
I'm just kidding.
Well, he can't. He doesn't qualify for the 150 because he's dope.
So Sasha Banks ended up. Yeah, I know. Sasha Banks ended up number 26 on this list. Obviously, for a lot of the window, Sasha Banks was not around. So that's pretty, again, and the body of work, I'm assuming from the time she was around was so significant that's where she still winds up at 26 when there's 100 and 24 other women behind her that maybe wrestled the full calendar year. Is that really the main? Like, is there any pushback or disagree? Like, like one of those things where like someone wins an award and they only played a quarter of the season kind of thing. Is it like, hey, there were people that played the full season that, you know what I mean? Like, is there any sort of, I'm sure people complain about it because
right. Well, I'm going to tell you, not a lot of people complain about Sasha because, first of all, Sasha is very beloved. Yeah. And I think people who do want to complain about Sasha are just scared.
It's true.
The Sasha stands are real.
Yeah, they are. They are real. They are real.
Yes, and I am an honorary member, by the way. So
they will come out in full force and get you.
Good.
In the case of Sasha, because yes, like for it is a July to July thing, right?
Yeah.
So she was around for a vast majority of it. She held titles during that period as well. She held the tag team titles with Naomi, as we all recall. Mm-hmm. There's a question about
47th Naomi, 47th,
and there's a question of her significance. The company. Sasha is a proven ratings draw. So on and so forth. And okay, so she disappears, and it was a point of discussion within the committee where we were like, well, how do we list Sasha? How do we go with it? And we all agreed that since she was still on the roster, she hasn't been fired. She's gone. She's doing things, but she's still on the pages.
Yeah.
At least we were doing it. I'm not checking right now. But since she was still on the roster, we were like, well, look, the things that she's doing on the outside, hitting up red carpets and fashion shows and movie premieres and so on and so forth, that counts towards her. The presence that she creates for her promotion, right? If she has star power and it exudes out into the mainstream, whatever, however I'm boiling it down to its simplest.
Yeah.
We could argue on the specifics, but she is getting mainstream attention, so that does still bring value to the Fed, right?
Yeah.
So that for us was everything she's done was still significant enough for us to put her up quite high on the list, because there's still like a little more than half the period where she was around. And I mean, Sasha Banks is Sasha Banks. She's a star anywhere she goes. She's doing it. She wrestles very well, and she's a legitimate draw for the company. So it wasn't that hard of a decision, really.
Yeah, I can imagine. I didn't know if there were, maybe a couple passionate people that might have been like, yeah, but they weren't there the whole time, kind of pushing back on it,
I'll tell you, the most pushback I saw was towards Mandy Rose. Really? I can clear the air a little bit on Mandy Rose if you want.
Yeah, she ended up at number 21, so just outside the top 20.
Her.
That's a high number. That's a number to be
highest number she's ever had.
I think it's fair. A lot of people disagree because they're like, she's had it for a year and she's one of the longest runners. Well, not during the evaluation period,
No.
She's had it for a good part of the period, sure. But then
level of competition is a part of this criteria as well, and she's not exactly taking down world beaters in this new NXT. We'll just say it. I'll be honest.
She's not, and probably her biggest high-profile match with a high-profile wrestler was Meiko Satomura, and that happened outside of the evaluation period. So yeah, I mean, I don't want to, and I mean, Triple H at the same time just turned around in an interview and said, no, NXT is developmental. Oh, well, she's the champion of the developmental brand.
Yeah.
Right.
This
is a black and gold NXT where you had like, Io Shirai as champion. She's taken down the Charlotte Flairs and the Rhea Ripleys of the world.
And where Paul Levesque was telling us we're a third brand. Now we're being developmental. Okay. And I mean, the quality of opponents is critical, I think, in the evaluation of Mandy Rhodes. That and the amount of times she's wrestled. She doesn't wrestle all that much, and we don't consider tag team and trios matches really, in the evaluations outside of titles and stuff like that, if a woman wrestles primarily in tag teams and so on and so forth, well, she's not going to rank as high as a singles wrestler.
Yeah,
and
that makes sense.
And she like a champion, she wrestles only when needed, which, like, you can't take that away from the booking. It makes sense. It's not a knock, but she's not wrestling often, and the quality of competition isn't there. It's not like Roman Reigns, if we flip to the dudes, where he doesn't wrestle often, but when he wrestles someone of a certain level of significance, of course, that will make this match feel important. Mandy's not, that's not quite the thing there. You could also have, we talked about also her, the technical ability, but technical ability when it comes to the 150 anyway, unless it's like striking, outstanding, like Shiri, where you're like, no, Shiri's a machine. Like, that's what she's right. It can be, we can be very forgiving, let's put it that way. Yeah. If there are other things that take precedence over it. Jade Cargill, I think, is a very good idea.
That's what I was going to bring up at 5. That would probably be one of the sticking points for some of the naysayers going, she's 5, she's not good in the ring at all. But
well, yeah,
that's what they say.
That's what they say. No, I know exactly. But hey, listen. How many of the tippy top wrestlers in the business were work rate phenoms? Am I right, fellas?
Yeah.
Exactly.
100%.
There's a lot of what Jade brings to the table, which are naturals, which is her star presence, her star power, and look, she is on a winning streak.
Mm-hmm.
And, when I say we, we talked a lot about the quality of her competition, because her biggest opponent was Athena.
Yeah.
Really. And again, outside of the evaluation period. So, you sort of combine all of that and you're like, but she's pushed to be a star. She looks like a star. She acts like a star. She's significant to the company because she's in promos, she's doing outside work. I mean, we felt that what she brings to AEW outweighs her weaknesses, or at least her not strengths, if we're not going fairly negative here. Because I love Jade. I love Jade, and I challenge anyone who has anything to say about Jade Cargill. I challenge them then to debate Goldberg with me, because she's got a lot more to offer than Goldberg does. I can tell you that.
No, she's got that. 100%. She's got that. Stop what you're doing and at least go.
Yeah, when she comes out, somebody could not have a clue what professional wrestling is, but if she popped on the screen, they would say, "Who is this person? Who is this person?" Yeah.
Who are they sending out on media for All Out this year? They were sending out CM Punk, they were sending out Orange Cassidy and her.
Yeah.
Of course they are Brits, but I mean, Jesus, exactly. Why? Of course you'd send her. What are you talking about?
It's incredible. All right, so there was, I know we mentioned it a few times. Huge shout out to we had a good representation of LPW wrestlers on this list. There were quite a few, and we want to shout them out. Obviously, everyone here knows how much that we love our girl, Taryn from Accounting. She popped in at number 116. She's been on the show. She filled in guest host for me, even brought a beard with her. She was wearing a beard. She rules. We love Taryn. So very, very happy to see her. But we also had Giselle Shaw popping in at number 31, the newly elite signing of Willow Nightingale, who's performed on an LPW show at number 40. I know. We were waiting for that graphic. Chelsea Green, who's also appeared, was at 75. Casey Spinelli, who was just on an episode of Dark this week as well, at 79. Nicole Matthews, who was in the main event tomorrow night of
Right here on
LPW9
this Twitch channel.
right here on this Twitch channel. She is in the main event against Michael Richard Blaze, going for the grand championship. She showed up at number 92. Jody Threat was at 136 and Liza Hall at 142. So I wanted to give them all a shout out. They have, some of those are LPW regulars on there, but all of those people have at least performed for LPW. So that is very, very cool to see good representation.
I guess on that note, as a committee member, when you're compiling matches for, say, a Casey Spinelli, does those LPW matches, you go like, oh, do those get factored in? Is it the whole body of work? Or is it just
I'm glad you asked me that. We actually keep everything LPW out of our condition. Because look, Spencer knows what he needs to do. He knows what to do. Okay.
He's gonna hop on here. 100%. He's gonna hop on here. He is. I know he is for a fact.
I'm not here.
Yeah.
Of course, LPW stuff is included. That was always fun to see when we're putting things together. We're looking at stats. I'm like, oh, this is nice. Taryn from accounting, in my humble opinion, I think she is going to have a significant boost next year if she continues on the momentum that she has right now. She's a great talent, and I think she's starting to break a little more into the US. I'm seeing her pop up on more indie dates in the US. So that's going to be a big deal for her. If she can, get those work visas or whatever it takes to get into the US a little more. She was 116.
116,
and she's one of those people that you're talking about, just good people that deserve it. Like,
great person,
she's a fantastic person, and her co-hosting abilities alone put her on the list for me. But
as far as everything I've heard about her seems about right. I think she'll be breaking into the top 100 next year if she continues. If she keeps up this momentum.
Reigning LPW Challenge champion.
She's absolutely looking fantastic. I'm thrilled about Giselle Shaw. Giselle has been she's been a stalwart of pro wrestling for years and years and years at this point, and hasn't really got the recognition. I feel that her abilities, her time, because she's been she's been wrestling all over the place. She was in a previous iteration of Women of Wrestling. Mm-hmm. She did a lot of work in the UK, right up until recently, since she's been signed to Impact. So, I want more of Giselle Shaw because I think she's one of these that is a complete package as far as wrestlers
go. For her, she was, I think, 19th last year. She took a little dip, but this recent Impact run she's on, I think that'll be another one next year. You'll see her probably enter into that top 20 again, based on what they're doing with her on Impact right now. So that's a good one.
Absolutely. So those are a couple of our Canadian ladies out there that I think are going to shine. Maybe she hasn't had time to go out west yet as much, but Alexia Nicole as well.
Okay.
And she's how far along would she be at this point? 5 years, maybe 6 years in the business, maybe a little more. I could be mistaken.
Yeah.
But she's really, really super talented. She as well was on an episode of Dark very, very recently. I think she's great. I had a couple of opportunities to see her wrestle in Ottawa at C4 Wrestling. She's a phenomenal athlete, I think she's another one that if she breaks a little more into that. Here's the thing. And it's not my spiel and it's not my territory either. Pat LaPat probably talk more on this more eloquently and smartly than I can. But from a dumbass's analysis here, our Canadian pro wrestlers on the indie circuit, regardless, men, women, they get a lot more. They get a lot more given to them once they start hitting the US Indies. Kind of sucks, but that's how the scene is,
Yeah.
You can't be a big time indie person if you just stick to Canada. You're going to hit a ceiling really, really quickly. It's something that I know that guys like like Spencer would love to change, and Mark from C4 would love to change as well. Try to create, more opportunities and bigger stages for independent Canadian wrestling. But, as long, that's the things like ladies like Alexia, like Taryn, like Giselle. Well, Giselle, she's on Impact maybe, but Jody there. Jody.
Oh, yeah. Jody Threat.
The more they hit the indies in the US, the more they get the visibility, the recognition. People go, oh, who is this?
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't become a question of, oh, they're Canadian. It's more like, oh, look at her go.
Well,
and that's what's important.
That's been us this whole time, LPW. This is our year anniversary show, I think.
Yes, it is.
Tomorrow night. That's what we started out by saying, hey, Spencer, you've opened our eyes to all these Canadian professional wrestlers. And now it's just became, look at all these independent professional wrestlers that you've, opened our eyes up to working here, because it's like they're so good and they're so well known. It doesn't need to be defined by just where they're at.
No, exactly.
Yeah. And it's just awesome to see. And like, Spencer reminded us in the chat, Giselle Shaw also on the LPW show tomorrow night. So you can see a couple women, that three in particular, with Taryn from accounting. She's involved in a tag team title match tomorrow. Nicole Matthews in the main championship match. And then you also have Giselle Shaw against Zoe Sager as well.
Jody Threat, isn't she in the scramble match?
And Jody Threat's in the scramble. So you can see a lot of these women that were in this list.
So Spencer, do what you got to do with Warren so that these ladies can bump up that list, because he's just saying LPW. He's not. He needs
I'm surprised he hasn't popped on yet, to be honest with you. I'm surprised he hasn't hopped on. But so obviously, as you get, I'm sure there's more discussion on what's the discussion like when you get towards the bottom of the list. Is there an argument between who gets 148 instead of 143? Like, you know what I mean? Like, obviously, when you're at the top of the list and you're going, all right, who should be number 1, 2? I'm assuming those discussions entail more. But like when it gets towards the end of how do you come up with the stuff that makes someone, like I said, like 148 instead of 144?
Also, to kind of
how does that? You know what I mean? Like when you get towards the tail end of the list, like how do you make sure that everyone's, the differences or the little things.
And with the 500, there's always the theory of like people send in their stuff, and that's how they make that big list.
Mm-hmm.
How does that process go for the women?
There are people that send their stuff in, and it does help. It does help to be reminded at some point. Look, I'm not going to sit here and pretend that we, delve deep into the analysis spreadsheets for the last one, for the last like 75 to 50 people. It's usually a lot of gut feeling. There might be some flags that are raised, where you're like, well, maybe this one over that one. Then we'll check out some stats. But there's a lot of instinct that goes into it, especially when we start getting into 120, 130, 140. Where it's just like, look, these people have had pretty good years. We've seen them around. We know who they are. Let's throw them on. Are there arguments to be made? Is there anyone you feel? Mm-hmm. It becomes a lot more casual, because to be honest, there reaches a point in this list that the wrestling fan in and about themselves just stop caring. We're just like, usually we make a big deal out of the top 50 for us. We feel like the top 50, the number 50 is a milestone.
Yeah.
So it's like 20, 10, those are our milestones within the list. So for us, that's where most of the work happens. And then, I feel like even after that, people sort of go, well, all right, it's okay. But it's significant. But it's significant for it's significant for the wrestlers, though.
Yeah. Well, speaking of,
boom,
we got one right there. That's her herself, Taryn from accounting, right there.
Hey guys.
What's up, girl? Congratulations.
You can hear us. Congratulations on being on the list. We were literally just talking about you. We're proud of you. That's awesome. Congratulations.
Thanks, guys.
Warren, why isn't she number 1?
What's that?
I hear you. You're breaking up.
No, we were just talking.
Coming at the perfect time. I get to see you guys at like all these Thursdays. It's sweet.
I know, it's
Yeah.
awesome.
We
Yeah.
gotta
But
have
I'm
you
all
back
my
on.
beard today.
It's okay. It's
Maybe
okay.
next time. You
Next
gotta
time,
come back
next
on.
time we will be prepared more and we can make sure it works. But no, we were literally just chatting about you and the other LPW representation on the list today. And Warren is on the committee, so we brought him on. We've been chatting with him the whole hour here. So yeah, that's just
Cool.
awesome. That's just crazy. What's it feel like when you hear, you know?
I mean, if I'm being totally honest, I was just telling Spencer, like, I got this message first thing in the morning from my friend Elliot Tyler, and he was like, congratulations. He sent me like a screenshot, and I was like, cool, what's that? And then I realized, like, oh, that's what's going on. Like, that's so cool. Like, I was looking at all the other girls at LPW that are on it, and I was like, this is a sick girl gang. Like,
Yeah.
we're badass women.
Yeah. Yeah. That's awesome.
Right.
It's so cool. It's so cool.
Very cool. Thank you guys so much.
You know you're number one in our hearts here.
Of course. Always.
So.
Always. Awesome.
I'll get there in everybody else's too.
Oh, you will, no
There you
doubt.
go.
Well,
There you
Warren
go.
was saying that he expects you to maybe even take a big jump next year. He was expecting big things from you to be even, I guess, technically lower on the list, but higher next year. So
Oh, man.
yeah,
Well,
to the moon. You know?
Confident in the prediction.
thank you so much.
Absolutely.
You
Good
do
to
us-
see you.
Can you do us a favor real
It's
quick?
great. What's that?
Can you go into the Rads locker room and steal any sparklers they may have laying
Yeah,
around?
please. Can you do that
That's
for
ours.
us?
I can't hear it.
It's okay.
Oh no. Can Pluggo was like, can you do us a favor real quick? Can you go into the Rads locker room and steal all the sparklers or any fireworks they might
Oh, the
potentially have?
sparklers. I'll tell you where I'll put them tomorrow.
Okay.
I'll light
Okay.
them after I win. How about that?
Okay, do that. Yeah, steal them and light them after you win the
Yeah,
you win
can
the
do
titles
it,
tomorrow.
not those Rads.
We'll allow you to do the sparklers. Those guys, get them out of there.
Okay.
All right.
Okay. Love you guys. I'll talk to you
Good luck
soon.
tomorrow.
All right. Thank you.
Meet you.
See ya.
Yeah.
See ya.
That was awesome.
Of course.
Oh,
And there
look,
he
look,
is.
look who he is. Oh,
Yeah,
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 you
yeah.
screwed up,
Straighten up,
Warren.
Warren.
Friend.
Straighten up. How you doing, bud?
You're lucky I got my accountant here. Otherwise, we'd have some real issues, guys. Some real issues. Warren,
I know.
Warren, do you want your invoice sent to your offshore account, or would you prefer it to your regular?
No, per usual.
Both,
Yes.
of course.
Exactly. The smaller one. Well, you know.
Yeah, you
Yeah,
know the
don't
drill.
worry.
Yeah.
That's
Per
exactly
usual.
it. You and I will figure
Um,
that one out later on. Pluggo and JPJ, you and I will figure that one out later on.
I figured. Yeah, no, we've been discussing the PWI Top 150. A lot of great ladies on that list in general, but we were literally just discussing the LPW influence
Mhm.
on the list. So it was a perfect time for you to hop on. So yeah, I know. How's that feel? You know, like obviously LPW is your baby. You know, you started. We're coming on the 1 year tomorrow, like our 1 year anniversary. And how's it feel when you get to look at that list? Because obviously you're a huge wrestling fan, so the list is important to all of us. And you
that's
see
exactly it.
people you know, people you've been working with. Like that's got to feel cool as the promoter or the the guy running the show.
Dude, it's rad. It really is. And I couldn't be more proud. You know, it's pretty freaking wild that we're a year in. And obviously, by no means are we the only promotion or even the biggest promotion a lot of these people have worked for, to be blunt with it. But it's pretty damn cool, I think, to have played at least a small part and have a lot of people, frankly, I'm not only just a big fan of, but a lot of people who have taken chances on us and came to our ring and came out to, in the grand scheme of things, it's not like Edmonton is a Chicago or a Detroit or like anywhere with your big wrestling promotions or a
Yeah.
wrestling mecca by any means. So it's cool as hell that those people took a chance on us, came up here. We were very lucky to have them in our ring, and it's damn cool. It's just damn cool, man. I can't tell
awesome.
you, like, I'm sitting there in my living room at like 8 this morning, just like screaming to myself. I'm sure upsetting the duplex neighbors to be quite blunt with them. But fuck, that's
Hey,
like
it's once a
3
year.
days
They can
here
deal
I'm
with it.
screaming
It's
in my
once a
house.
year.
That's exactly
Yeah. Once a year, they can deal. Obviously, I know you're hopping on towards the tail end because we got a giant quizplex coming up here in just a few minutes. But
bet.
we have been toting that LPW 9 is tomorrow night. So do you want to take a few minutes and kind of run through the card, do your thing, and let the people know what time and where? Well, where is right here on this channel. But can you let people know what time and kind of where they can find the show? And
Yes.
the
Do we have a fancy graphic this time, or do you just want me to run it through?
Oh God, Alex, do we have
Yeah,
a
the fancy
graphic?
Canadian.
We have Warren on the screen. We couldn't afford graphics.
Yeah, we couldn't afford graphics. We had to shell out all the dough for him. So,
and he said he needs more money to bump up the LPW talent.
But I don't believe we have a graphic on the screen. Sadly, I don't.
Say, Levi, I am happy to run
Alex.
through.
We'll have Alex edit that in post.
Yeah, Alex will
do
throw
that
it on
in post.
post.
That's fine. Thanks, Alex. Appreciate it. I don't know what that means, but we're just going to continue with it. Tomorrow, we're super excited. It is our 1-year anniversary show. LPW 9 presents LPW Mark Among Us, of course, playing tribute to the Misfits debut album, keeping with the punk rock pro wrestling theme that we love to have here.
Mm-hmm.
Tomorrow night marks the debut of the Billington Bulldogs in Love Pro Wrestling, of course, the nephews of the legendary Dynamite Kid. They will be accompanied to the ring by the Dynamite Doll, the daughter of the legendary Tom Billington. They're going to be taking on the Short Kings, Mars the Specialist, and the Thickness, Reed Matthews. Chris Parrish is issuing an open challenge. He put Bobby Sharp out of commission for the next foreseeable year, judging by what we're seeing on the Surgeon's end of things. So Parrish has issued an open challenge. He was going to take Bobby Sharp out, and he certainly did. And I use my air quotes with it, but a fine job of doing that. So tomorrow, who Chris Parrish is going against, we don't know. Tune in to find out. That's what promoting is, brothers. Mitch Clark defends the LPW Challenge Championship against Sean Moore. This is going to be one of the best technical wrestling matches.
Yeah, that's the match I'm looking forward to the most.
No freaking doubt about that.
Yes.
These are two bad dudes, man. And not only two bad dudes, but two bad dudes who can tear you limb from limb any way they want to with a fucking smile on their face. Psyched as far as that one goes. Got a scramble match featuring Jack Pride, Son of Irish, Travis Williams, T.Y. Jackson, and the debuting T.J. Cannon. We're very excited to bring him in. We're very excited about the other 4 individuals in that match as well. I know you guys have seen them all face off in some way, shape, or form together in one way or another. So we said when we announced it, it's just a good problem to have a lot of good wrestlers in your promotion. So throw them in a ring, see what happens. The real winner is you, the fans.
Yeah,
right?
It's true.
Kid Chocolate Mo Jabari is taking on former NXT UK superstar Rohan Raja. Fun fact on Rohan's end is he ended up traveling over here from Australia to begin his training at the Storm Wrestling Academy. I quite literally remember going out to see his first matches here. So it's very cool. It's the first time in 3 years that he's been back in Edmonton specifically. Cool. Tonight he's wrestling his first match back in Alberta for a different promotion, but excited as hell to have him back in YEG where he did have his first match. Zoe Sager taking on the quintessential diva herself, Giselle Shaw. She is, I am so psyched on this one. Giselle, again, is someone who started her career here. It's been 7 years since she's wrestled in Alberta, and it's absolutely nuts to me that someone who, frankly, made such a huge impact on this province in her short time here hasn't been back in that long. So it's super exciting to make that opportunity happen here. We've got the Rads, we've got Paralira, we've got Ride or Die, and we've got the Bollywood Boys facing off to become the first ever LPW Tag Team Champions of the world. See, let's bring that back to someone we all like, all right, guys? The Tag Team Champions of Love Pro Wrestling will be determined tomorrow in a fatal 4-way that I'm real excited for. And then for the first time ever, 2 of the standard bearers in Canadian wrestling over the past 20 years, Nicole Matthews, Michael Richard Blaze, for the first time ever, are facing off in the main event right here in Edmonton, Alberta, for the LPW Grand Championship. We've got some more tickets available. We were getting close to selling out. We rearranged some seats. I did my technician job, I suppose. I made sure everything was technically sound in the room. I put a couple more chairs in. So if you want to hop in, you want to check out what I believe is going to be not only the show of the night tomorrow here in Edmonton, but one of the shows of the year here in YEG. Make sure you're here. We've got tickets available at eventbrite.com. Just search Love Pro Wrestling. Not only can you get tickets for tomorrow's show, but our final event of the year, November 25th. Can't tell you the show name yet. We'll reveal that tomorrow. Pick those up. Or if you're not able to be in Edmonton, fly out next time. It's always worth it. I'll take you to the mall. But if you can't, twitch.tv right here, right channel. I was going to say right here, right now. Right here on this channel, you can tune in tomorrow for Love Pro Wrestling 9. 24 hours from now, 23 hours and 55 minutes from now, y'all will be able to tune in. That's timing, brothers. That's real great time.
And the streak continues. We usually have you on for much longer, but the Quizplex had to get moved for some things for tonight. So right after you leave the screen, there we go. More people hopping. You never knew what's going to happen. But Quizplex hanging out.
Yeah, Quizplex is going to be starting in just a few minutes.
Just a few minutes.
Yeah. So
PCO
Spence
will be there. Big Bad Boris is in the house. I mean, that's a who's
Sal
who.
Ronaldo as well.
Sal Ronaldo, Marpal, Sal, we talked about earlier.
Yeah, it
So
should
that
be
means-
good. But I'm glad we were able to get you on to at least do your thing and
Yeah.
run through your best Excalibur impression and run
I
through the
can't lie to
pod
you,
like
man.
that.
It's great. I just come and I tell people at 6 o'clock that I'm hopping on the podcast, and usually I just sit here for 2 hours and not set up a ring. It's perfect.
Mr. Warren Hayes, always a pleasure having you on here. Thank you. That was a really good discussion about the PWI 150 and a good look into how everything works and things of that nature. So thank you for being here. You're welcome anytime. And I know your Thursdays just became a little free. So tell the people where they can find you on what night now, if they don't already know, and where they can follow you and where they can check you out before we get out of here.
Well, first of all, thank you guys very much for having me on. Congratulations on number 75. I think that's a big deal, you guys.
Thank you.
You guys know you're a couple of my favorites. You guys are great. Spencer's fine. You can come and find me on youtube.com/Mr. Warren Hayes Tuesday nights now.
Him. Oh, sorry.
Tuesday nights at 7 p.m. Eastern is when I record the Mr. Warren Hayes show live, where I go over the weekend wrestling, of course, have a good time. It's always fun. And then on top of that, I also do an AEW Dynamite review, which was released today for last night's show, where I do a deep dive in the previous events happening on Dynamite. So hopefully you guys can make it out there. YouTube.com/Mr. Warren Hayes, or on your favorite podcast application, just look for Mr. Warren Hayes.
Perfect.
Pluggo, let the people know
And we're
where they
going to
can
do this
find
really
us.
quick because we got to go because we're over time. But it's at B2 Beards on all of the socials for both of us. At Pluggo on all the socials for just this face here. JPJ doing his thing. Quizplex. JPJ, tell them where they can find you because Quizplex got to go down. Zach's
Yeah, you can find me at Joseph_Poulin Jr. on the Twitter machine. You can find me on Twitch at JPJ Loves Gaming. And you can find me here every Thursday, 10 a.m. for Firmly AEW with Drew Nicholas, and 8 p.m. here on Between Two Beards. Do not leave. Stay in the chat. Quizplex is starting right now. This show's over. Thank you, Spencer. Thank you, Warren. Love everybody. Yo, Alex, hit the button. Hit the button. It's over.
Get yourself help and you're feeling great. I'm only taking 12 steps.